So we've got that at our facility. We've got the learnings about the learnings, get the learnings, which is massive technique to be using as well. The learnings will complete the memories, and then the memories can move on. Normally there's going to be some kind of learning. Even if you've done perceptual positions, there's going to be some kind of learning there for them. An evolutionary track to dissolve an old pattern. Yeah, Wesley?
Just talking about these old patterns. In divorces, when people are stuck or can't get over the hurt, whatever, when they're ready for the perception positions, that really shatters the old strategies or patterns for them.
Right.
Because when they see it from the other person, or see themselves from the other person's eyes,
Yeah.
I see the one time the lady just almost fainted. Just sit down. It was just such a mind shift for her to see it in a different way.
Absolutely. Yeah, and also you can look at the angles that they look at people from as well. So you can change the submodalities of the memory. So let's say in one of the memories, well, I'll give you a real example. We're working for a power company, electricity company here in England, and I was doing perceptual positions with one, and she couldn't get it. It wasn't releasing. So she was having a manager that she said was a little bullying towards her, and it wasn't working. It wasn't freeing up. So I was getting her to build her, and every time she looked at she was in her own body looking at the manager in her mind's eye. She's looking up like that. So I said, "Is your manager really tall?" Looking up there, and she said, "No, he's the same height." I said, "Well, how come you're looking up there?" She said, "Because that's how big he looks." Ah, okay. So what would we do in that situation? Shrink him down a bit. Yeah, so we did. We shrunk him down to a little bitty thing, and then became humorous and comical, and then it got freed up. So you can play with the submodalities in the memories as well, so that will change. It should change some of the meaning of the memory, because remember, as much as we like them, memories are not real. No, they are an illusion of some degree. They are like, some of them are like ghosts on Halloween trying to scare you as well. They are like old habits. So we've got that, we've got the ability to float up above, looking down, get the learnings, what's there to learn from this memory, the learning which allow you to let go of the emotions easily and effortlessly. That. We've also got the technique of bringing back all the knowledge and wisdom that you have now at your age, and any other resources, back to this 5-year-old or 10-year-old or 15-year-old person. So allow, the pattern goes, notice the relationship between the you now at your age and the you back then. Notice all the learning and experience you have now at your present age and what the younger you needed. Go and give the younger you all the experience and learning it needs now. Now there's a lot of nows in there, aren't there? And they're there specifically because we're with our consciousness, as much as possible, we're evoking the present tense as much as possible. So when we're using that word now, if you can, just be present to the consciousness of yourself that you're trying to, or you're intending to, evoke the present tense with that word every time you say it. Present tense, there's all healing and there's all resources and knowledge in the present tense, is the idea. So you can augment that slightly. So if that person feels like all the knowledge and experience they have now still isn't enough, because they might think that, I say, yeah, but that knowledge isn't enough to give that younger me what I want. Then you can also augment that by saying any other resources which may be available to you, take that back with you as well. So you can be a little bit more ambiguous about that. Any other resources which may be available anywhere in the universe, you could say, if they're up for that language, take that back to the younger you. So we're not restricting it to the experience that they think they have in their own body, in their own mind. You can open that up to anything that's available, get it there. And then you're just using the words appropriately to the person that you're speaking to. They might not like the words in the universe. Just have to find words which suit your client.
In Brighton.
Brighton's fine, yeah. We'll go to the galaxy in Brighton.
Yeah.
Sorry, what about people who project to the future? So I'm thinking about a friend who's very anxious, but she's anxious in an unreal place. You know, she sort of catastrophises out to, I'm going to be living on a park bench in Brighton. You know, it's kind of all future.
Right.
Is that hooked? Would you go back to the past to try and find a memory that created that catastrophising and that anxiety in the first place, and then work with that? And then how would you deal with, on the timeline, the sort of future worries that...
I don't know. I mean, the reframe that comes to me immediately is one of Wesley's, and he would say, like, yeah, with that attitude, yeah, it's going to happen. Might be the first reframe that we punch in there, but and I don't know. Without knowing that client, you know, I don't know. I mean, there's a wonderful movie, Tomorrowland. Has anybody seen the movie Tomorrowland? Thoroughly recommend it. It's a really good movie. Yeah, but it's a kind of similar movie where if you keep on projecting into the future, there's going to be some idea. So she's going to have to get her philosophy together around how law of attraction works. I'll probably have a chat with her beforehand about understanding that you're this very powerful, energetic, magnetic being that works through the focal point of a mind, and that mind focuses on what it wants, and it's magnetic in essence and attractive in essence, and it will attract what you focus on. So I might give her that to begin with and see what comes back from that, because it is a confronting, and that I would deliberately confront her with that, just to see what comes back as her presuppositions. So if she's got a presupposition in the background, life is shit and then you die, we'd probably have to work on that one.
Yeah.
Because that might be the bit that's projecting, it's got all these visions that's projecting. So she's probably got presuppositions that are not working. I'd probably work on presuppositions. Yeah.
I sometimes did that on myself, because I had a lot of issue with projecting into the future and anxiety about it. It's going to be the worst case scenario a lot in every direction.
Yeah.
And what helped me eventually, after trying many things, is just simple question, I guess. The question is, what would I need in that particular moment in the future? I guess that question brings all the openings into the picture, into the scenario, that there's going to be resources to go forward, and there's going to be like future, there's going to be next step, it's not going to be end of the world.
Yeah, sure.
So that helped me basically.
Okay.
That question.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how it's stuck. For each individual, it's going to depend how stuck they are in the past to be able to go forwards into the future. Because if the garden's full of weeds and rocks and barbed wire and stuff, we need to go in there and do that work there. So they can't possibly come into the future before they've done that groundwork.
Yeah.
And that will be, if it's roots, it's going to be how they perceive life completely. Those presuppositions in language. Yeah. And you know, when did you decide that? If they say life's shit and then you're going to die, when did you decide that? Would be my question. Which should take you back to a memory, and then we're in a memory, and then we're working with the memory.
Yeah.
When they decided that's how it's going to be.
Some case study written.
There we go.
So can I ask one more? Sorry to be
Yeah, questions are good.
I've got this stuck in my head. I just need to get rid of it. I do a sort of cumbersome finding the inner critic thing, and I'm sure it can be really speeded up.
All right.
These things, but I'm sort of stuck in this old mode. So we'd play out. So I'd have the full self, you know, reflection of the universe, microcosm, blah blah blah, and then get them out of the chair and stand and become the inner critic. So we become the inner critic together and then play around it. And then this the other part, which I'm saying, I'm not sure what part it is, but of course it's the emotional body, the child, or whatever.
All right.
And then play that out. But of course it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking, if I were working with that on Skype, what suggestions, how could I, or what other techniques in NLP could I more usefully use?
To do what exactly?
To kind of elicit the part that's unconscious and self-criticising. And do I need to do that, or will it just gradually fade away as I'm using other techniques?
Well, it's in terms of the self-critic, there could be a pattern that's come from somebody else.
So could use this time-based technique.
Yeah, I want to know where that came from. I'd be
Yeah,
interested.
it's usually a parent, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah, invariably it's the internalised critical parent voice.
Yeah.
In coaching.
So I'm
saboteur.
always looking for what pattern are we dealing with here? Because it's quite precise. When we come to look at the inner critic and working with those parts, so that's getting fairly precise.
It is.
But I'd probably before that, I'd be looking at what's the pattern that underlies all of those critique, the voice in the head. Yeah, what's the pattern that's arriving here? So for instance, when I work with a guy, I call him DM, work with DM, and he rang me up and he said that he'd been off work for 3 months. He was in such a state that he couldn't leave his room anymore. So he used to stay in bed nearly all day long, curl up like a little ball on the floor sometimes, just pretty much incapacitated as a person. He said what had happened is a manager had come in over him and his words were bullying him like that. So, and he was working with a therapist at the time. So I said, well look, if you come and see me, I've got some rules here, and one is that if you come and see me, you've got to be willing to not have a therapist anymore. Because the work I do is going to be thorough and you won't need a therapist. So you'd be willing to not have anything else that you need to be dealing with this problem with. So that's part of the ordeal, that he agreed to that. And then he came to see me, and as I talked to him about the memories of bullying, we found out there was a pattern. There's bullying here, there's bullying 10 years ago, there's bullying back at school, until he got to see that's his pattern. And he could take responsibility for he's doing that. There's been some events which have caused him to be a little bit, like a victim, but that he's now responsible for that.
Yeah.
And the pattern was there, and it was obvious, and then we could do the work on that. Then we could start doing work on the events.
And what work did you do then?
Well, what we're doing now.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, working on the memories. But before he could see the pattern, it was always somebody else outside doing something.
There's no self-responsibility.
Right, and that voice, that critic voice, is something on the outside doing something to them. Because you'd never do that to yourself, would you? Like with awareness, you'd never critique yourself to that degree, with consciousness and awareness.
Sure.
Like Shakespeare said, doubt is a traitor. Doubt is a traitor. That critique is a traitor. That negative critique. So there's an outside force. We want to know who is that outside force. Where's that come from? Probably dad or mum.
Yeah.
Probably. So when he can see that, he or she, when they can see that pattern, they take responsibility for it, and then we can do the work more successfully. But up till that point, there's always somebody else that's doing it to them.
That's right.
And it's very difficult to work on that level.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's just that particular technique, once we come across the pattern, then I tend to use the sort of change in geography too. And so if I'm on Skype, I want to be able to do that more efficiently.
Yeah, I think that it sounds like something that's been working for you. Yeah, and now you've got everything here as well. Well, I think what will happen is you'll start to go and use that pattern, and other things will come into your periphery.
Yeah.
You go, oh, I could use this right now and see how that works, and
Yeah.
you could experiment with, well, how would that work if I did it like that?
Yeah.
So I think you can keep what you've got because it's working,
Yeah.
and see how you could augment that you already have.
No, that'd be great to
Yeah.
do it on Skype. Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, so these are all the things you can do, and anything else that you'd like to do while you're there. So there's a page there of things, of possibilities. You could do a parts integration while you're on the timeline and the memory. There's so many things that you can do. You could ask them for what purpose. If there's something there that isn't moving that you think should move, for what purpose? Or even if the memory's not shifting the way you'd like it, you might ask them, is there a reason for having this particular issue? For what purpose having this issue? Does it get you something from that? So you could even ask them that if it's not moving the way you want it to. So all the techniques that we've been learning through practitioner and master practitioner, quantum linguistics, that's all available to you, whatever it takes to move that and complete these memories. It's all available. So you do that, you work with that memory, you get into the point where, is that complete? Yes, it's complete, congruent answer. And then what do we do? So that memory is complete, then what do we do? Right, yeah. Are there any other memories which are important to work with? So why do we use that word important?
Because that's what's influencing their behaviour now.
Say that again, Chrissy.
Because that's what's still influencing how they're responding.
But why don't we just ask them, are there any other memories that you want to go to?
Because the subconscious mind knows what's still constant.
We want to know if there's actually anything else to work with or not. So if we use that word important, it means that if we just ask them, is there any other memories you want to go to? Well, oh yeah, I'll go to 500, thanks very much. Yeah, well, now we're here, we'll just hang out for a bit and go looking for some memories. So we want to know, is there anything else that's really impending to do in relationship with that initial memory that's important to work with? Because if it's not, great, we're done. So normally...
Relevant would be an okay word to use there.
Say that again?
Relevant.
I'd say important. You could say important and relates to the work that we're doing, or the memory that we're doing, the pattern that you're working with, or the issue. What are the words we put here? Yeah, in relation to that old issue. And we put old issue as well there, because we know about working with time, don't we? The old issue. So you might, if you've done one and it's magnificently done, that's it, it's done. And you can come back to now, and you can use the phrase which is, if there's no memories that are relevant to work with or important to work with, your unconscious mind can generalize these learnings and resources throughout every single memory in the body. So we're going to get that. It's beautiful work. Because all that wonderful work, if we just had it for that one memory, that's great. But we can actually utilize that. It's like anchoring, isn't it? We've got a learning there, we've got resolution there, which is so powerful for that person. Why not generalize that through all other memories too? Share it around a bit. So it's anchoring throughout the whole system. So you can generalize this anchor, if you like, throughout the whole system, throughout every other single memory, every single cell in your body, all the way back to now, whatever words that you'd use, or you can use a script alone. If there is another memory, then fine, go and work with the memory. Allow your unconscious mind to take you back to this memory and let me know when you're there by nodding your head. So you found another memory that's important, great. Let your unconscious mind take you back to this memory and let me know you're there by nodding your head. And then you're going to do exactly the same process. Release the emotions, get any learning, perceptual positions, whatever it takes to complete that memory. If you wanted to check again, is this memory complete? Yes or no? Yes, it is. Great. Are there any other memories that you need to, that are important to travel to that relate to this original issue? No. Fantastic. Okay. Now generalize these learnings all the way back, and that's it. All the way back to now. Now the beauty of how we're working there and how this relates to how I believe it's one of the most powerful time techniques to work with is because what we're doing here in that first memory we go to, so here's now, here's the past, the memory's, and the person's gone, right, here's the memory. And we've gone back to that memory. We might have floated above for a bit, we might have gone into the memory, and we've done the work. Whilst you're doing that work, you will complete the anger, sadness, fear, and guilt. You'll complete all the emotions that are there, they're going to be completed. So every single emotion that's there should be done, because that means complete. Now, of course, if they feel there are other emotions that are there that are irrelevant, they probably will go back to another memory because there's something else that's there that's important. And the third one, if it's necessary, that's important. But definitely by the time they've done 2, or let's say probably maximum 3, the unconscious mind knows everything it needs to know about this particular pattern. Every learning, every nuance, every emotion should then be completed. So that pattern in their life should be absolutely done. And they generalize the learning through all the other memories, and they come back to now. And you've done a magnificent piece of work. So in terms of the gestalts, we're using the word Gestalt here in terms of a timeline. In this respect, Gestalt means different things in different contexts. So just in this context, a Gestalt means a timeline with a bunch of memories that are related to each other. They have a relationship to each other. So memories of playing football all have a Gestalt of playing football. Memories of sadness might have memories all linked to sadness. So when we do this kind of work, we work in the memory and we hit this Gestalt here of anger, we might also have hit a Gestalt of sadness in there too. We go to another memory which has guilt in it and pain. So basically we're hitting every single Gestalt and every single different angle through visiting these different memories. So it's a massively, beautifully complete piece of work that you've done with your client.
Strings of pearls.
Yeah, string of pearls from Fritz Perls. That therapist Fritz Perls. Quite funny watching any video you find of Fritz Perls working, because in the old days they used to sit there smoking with the clients with cigarettes and ashtrays and things. It's really weird watching, and sometimes the client will have one as well. The client will be smoking a cigarette, the therapist will be sitting there smoking a cigarette or a cigar or something. It is so strange to watch. It's incredible. Alrighty, good. So it's pretty much how we're going to be working in that particular mode. So anything else for you? Anything else for you that's important for you right now about what we've been going through? I'll just stick that up there. Some people, or some minds, need reasons why things can disappear and complete. So these are some reasons. Now this is in your time-based techniques manual. There is that page there. So if you see there's a reason to suit most people's minds, isn't there? Quite like that. Now you can also, just going to change that slide in a second. You got that?
Yeah.
You can also invoke the notion of higher conscious mind as well. So you can invoke that. If you feel your client likes the idea of a higher conscious mind, you can talk about that from time to time. So let's say they're having difficulty finding a learning, just say go to your highest conscious mind and notice that your high conscious mind can show your unconscious mind a learning. Remember, the world's as big as your imagination. You can bring anything into presence and into consciousness if you think it's appropriate for the session. So in this particular model, the higher conscious mind can talk to the unconscious mind, but the higher conscious mind doesn't have that much connection with the conscious mind. But the conscious mind can speak to the unconscious mind. Little family going on there.
What is the higher conscious mind?
Family issue.
How would you, if somebody mentioned a higher conscious mind, in your vocabulary and in your experience and your library system, what's there for that?
I have no idea. I'm just trying to work it out now.
All right.
I thought I'd ask you.
Okay, so in
part of your conscious mind.
In the book, the Mysterious Universe by James Jeans, scientist and also philosopher. So he was around the same time as Einstein. So basically, those guys were working on the whole of the physics of gravity, and how does gravity work? Is it real or not? Etc. Etc. And the theory of relativity. So he was in that mode and working with Einstein on that level. Basically, in that book, The Mysterious Universe, he looks at all the different theories of everything, and including gravity, relativity, the scientific notion of all of them. Towards the end, his conclusion is, now wait for this, Kathy, going to be a bit of a drum roll. In all of his observations, experiments, thought processes, and thought experiments, he concludes that the universe has an intelligence of its own. built into the very fabric of the universe is intelligence of its own, which may relate to human beings and may not relate completely to human beings. We're not talking about aliens, but itself, nature itself, which we are part of. We think we're kind of top of the tree. We're the evolutionary part. But he says inside the universe there's an intelligence that's, yeah. So you could call that a higher sense, but you know, whatever, you know, you could say God is a higher presence.
What was that book called again?
The Mysterious Universe. Very good read. I think, Kathy, you think you'd love that one. Yeah.
One of the ones that's really cool.
It is actually. Actually, thank you. Thank you, Kate. Yeah, it's on the table over there. Have a look at it. Yeah, so we can invoke the notion of a higher conscious if that's going to help our client.
Can I add something, Terry?
Yes, please.
In yoga, we are talking about these three aspects of the mind, which is the unconscious mind, the conscious, the thinking mind, and then the superior Buddhi. That's why we call him Buddha, because he reached that state of awareness. So basically, Buddhi is that aspect of your mind which is aware. It's not thinking, it's aware. And learns. It's the intellect, it's the intelligent part, rather than the thinking blah blah. I know that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you don't want to be in a situation where you know someone's got trauma or phobia, and you know you don't want them to be associated into the memory too quickly, then you're going to use a floating technique. So you need to keep them floating above the timeline all the time. So this is basically what this script is invoking here. And in this one, it gives the client the choice of before, during, or after your birth. So the particular memory you want to go to, is it before, during, or after your birth? Gives the client the choice to do that. So they could say in the womb, they could say past lifetimes, and they could say genealogy. And when we look at the regression model a little bit later, we're going to use that same particular phraseology. So the client's going to say it's after birth. They say if after birth, you can say what number. If they say it's during birth, well, that's during. If it's in the womb, what month in the womb. If it's past lifetimes, how many past lifetimes. Or if it's genealogy, how many lifetimes ago. How many family generations ago. Yeah, so it gives the client that choice. And then with this one, what you're going to do is basically going to follow the script on this one. So that's a choice for you. You can use that one if you so wish. So what I'd like to demonstrate for you, I'd like to demonstrate a non-content process of working with a timeline. So you can see for yourselves, because all of you experience working with timelines where you go into the memories and you have to, the person's seeing things and they're moving things around. So you've probably all witnessed that and experienced that for yourselves, but you may not have experienced a non-content version. So I can demonstrate that for you and to show you how that works. I can't guarantee clients not going to go into a memory because that's up to them, but we can give it to them as a non-content one and see how that works. So with that, so do you want to see that?
Yeah.
That'd be good for you guys?